Gloves on. Big man's getting to work.
Hello and welcome to Quizine TV, where we quiz the cuisine. It gives us great pleasure to welcome you to the first episode of our latest series, Quizine, in Jordan. We were blessed to be able to explore much of this beautiful nation, wondering at its natural beauty, rich culture and vast culinary delights. We kickstart this new adventure by hitting up a spot which brings you a cool and quirky take on one of the Middle East's favourite dishes.
We've come to a place called Nabteh O Fatteh, which is basically a very trendy, quirky place in the heart of Amman, in downtown Amman, on Rainbow Street, which is basically like the place you want to be when you come here, where all the hustle and bustle and atmosphere is and all the cool shops and food places are. We've managed to wander across this place and we're about to try so many different food items. Now, Fatteh is obviously a very traditional Levantinian dish. The food across Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Palestine, they're all quite similar, but they all have a few different takes on things. There is subtle differences here in this particular restaurant. They're a bit quirky, they add their own take to things. For example, we've got 3 different types of fatteh here. We've got one that's topped off with chicken, a type of chicken breast cooked in garlic, which I've never heard of before. We've got one with aubergine, again, which is quite quirky, quite new. And then we've got one with hummus. So this should be interesting. And then we've also got some fool. Obviously fool we've had loads of times together on Quizine. This is going to be very different, of course. We've got something called manaish, which is basically a pastry bread. It's a bread that's cooked in a hot oven and it's topped off, this one is topped off with cheese and za'atar. I'm going to try the hummus and lahma first, which is hummus and meat. Let's get a little bit of bread. Lovely. Here we go. Oh my god, that is delicious. Immediately, the Levantinian fatteh, the base of it is the khubz, which is their bread. It's often made with like a bit of a stale or a fried bread. That forms the foundation of the fatteh. Here it's very, very crispy, and that's quite distinct from where I've tried it in Egypt or Lebanon, for example. It's not as crispy, so immediately you get a really, really nice crunch to it. It's actually quite soggy in other places. There's a lot of yogurt, some chickpeas, and there's not much bread content. The sort of oil and the pine nuts are there as well, that sizzling effect. But that crunch is uncharacteristic of any fatteh that I've had before, so that is delicious. The meat on top as well is so flavoursome. You can tell it's just absolutely submerged in oil and ghee. That buttery ghee that he sort of spread over as well comes through. The smell is there, the aroma is there, that warm taste is there as well. That is very, very delicious. I'm gonna fly through now and try the chicken one. Now we saw that chicken is chicken breast with a little bit of garlic, topped off with some coriander. Here the bread looks a bit more soggy. Well, let's go. Ooh. There's a lot of garlic there. A lot of garlic and a lot of lemon juice. Very, very tangy, that one. Substantially less crispy than the first one that I had. The bread has really soaked in a bit of that yogurt and a bit of that oil, and it's got a bit more of a sort of soft taste to it. Very, very delicious. Strong flavours coming out of that. Garlic, a lot of tang as well. Let's try the aubergine. This is basically fried aubergine cooked in a tomato sauce. Again, it's got that khubz in it, and then it's topped off with more meat and some nuts. This is a big bite. Wow. That one is very, very tangy. The yogurt there is very tangy, but the tomato for some reason tastes like it's been soaked in lemon. Very, very tangy, very delicious. It's just sharp flavours. If you're ever feeling drowsy or sleepy, you eat that and it'll bring you right back into focus. It's exactly what you need. It's like a burst of tang, which is very, very delicious. That is lovely. Let's try a little bit of this. This, of course, is the labna. It's the yogurt sort of condiment sauce, topped off with a bit of za'atar. Za'atar is a mix of spices, basically thyme. They love it in the Middle East. And we've got a little bit of olive oil in there as well. Oh man, that just tastes pure. Clean, pure, creamy yogurt. Very, very refreshing, and that za'atar taste gives it a whole new burst of freshness. This is something that I'm very, very excited for. I absolutely love fall. I'm casting my mind back to perhaps my favorite fall in the world. Not long ago, we were in Luxor. We were in Uncle Ibrahim's restaurant, and he gave us possibly the best fall I've had in my life. This right here looks incredible. Topped off with chickpeas, lots and lots of oil, some pummeled peppers. There it is. There's the pummeled fava bean underneath. Sitting underneath all those whole chickpeas is that lovely pummeled fava bean that we love. Soaked in oil, some green peppers. Woo. This looks amazing. Oh my god. The peppers provide a very, very distinct taste. That is just glory on your tongue. There's no other way of putting it. It's just glory on your tongue. It's comfort on your tongue. It's heavy, but oh my god, it's so, so comforting. Delicious. Actually, a very, very good fall and quite different. There's chickpeas that are whole, and then you've got the fall underneath that's pummeled. I actually haven't tried it like that before. So there's a array of different textures on there as well. Super, super good. Finally, the last thing I'm going to try is the manaish, which by the way is spelled manakish, which is very weird. Here it is. There's za'atar on this, the thyme, the Middle Eastern collection of different spices, and some cheese. It's basically cooked on a fresh piece of bread, piece of bread that's cooked from scratch and put inside the oven. Let's put a little bit of this. It's like a Middle Eastern pizza. Za'atar is one of those things that people eat unadulterated. It's the za'atar on bread. That is enough to keep you going. That is enough to keep you happy. Somehow, this cheese addition takes things up a notch. I wasn't expecting za'atar to go that well with cheese, but it really, really does. I guess it's the saltiness of the cheese and that lovely flavor that the za'atar gives off. They combine together to make something that's very, very delicious. The bread is soft, the bread is fresh, straight out the oven. You really can't get better than this. I'm gonna dip a little bit of this in there. I don't know if that defiles every form of custom there is, but I'm gonna do it and see how we go. My Middle Eastern producers are having a heart attack about what I've just done. But here at Quizine is what we do. Nabteh O Fatteh. Absolutely incredible place, very, very quirky, best place in town for breakfast, downtown Amman. You guys have got to come in. Let me eat. Woo.
All that delicious food required a tasty dessert to satisfy my sweet tooth, so we made a trip down to an establishment often touted as the best place in the world for Knafeh.
Alright guys, we are in Habiba Knafeh. This place is absolutely elite. It's been serving the good people of Amman, perhaps the most favourite dessert in the Middle East for 70 years. We're here of course to have Knafeh. This is an incredible dessert. It's super rich, super tasty, full of syrup, and the main ingredient is a special type of cheese. There's a very, very rich cheese, a rich sweet cheese that makes this dish. And honestly, it's incredible. There's loads of debates about where it originated from. Some people say it originated under the Fatimid dynasty in the 10th century in Egypt. Some people say in other parts of the Middle East, we just don't know. But everywhere in the Middle East have this. We've had this in Lebanon, we've had this in Turkey, I've had this in Palestine. It's such an intrinsic part of the dessert scene across the Middle East. Right here, my guy Ismail is going to show me how it's done. There's two types of Knafeh. One is they use vermicelli in its sort of original form, in those lovely kind of string format. He layers this bowl with a whole lot of samna, which is a type of butter, very rich butter. Then they top it off with that cheese that I spoke to you about, and then they whack it on to basically the fire where they cook it, and it just sizzles up and all that cheese is melting and it looks absolutely glorious. The other type is they also get the vermicelli, but they almost ground it and pummel it into a bit of a powder, into a bit of a semolina style texture, and then they make the base with that semolina, then they top it up again with the syrup, cheese, and cook it. So there's two types of kanafa we're going to be trying today, two of the most popular, famous types of kanafa in Jordan and in the Middle East. And our man here, Ismail, is going to give us a whistle stop tour. Thank you very much. You know what they say, roll up the sleeves and get to work. Ismail is going to give me a tutorial on how he became the best kanafa maker in Jordan. Oh my god, it's so cool. Look, the texture is very, very rubbery. It's kind of like paneer, Indian paneer. You look at it, look. Beautiful white cheese, almost like a cottage cheese or a feta cheese, but the texture is really nice and rubbery, and it's really, really cool. Look, they've got this whole basin of all this cheese. I mean, this is incredible. This feels so satisfying on the hand. Oh my god. Here we go. We get the cheese going. There we go. You see that? Ismail said I've passed the test. He said he's worried about his job now because I'm coming for it. I'm coming for it. Alright. And the next stage obviously is put on the fire, they cook it, and you get all that syrup. Oh my god. This is an incredible experience. I've had kanafa all around the world. No one's ever allowed me into the kitchen. So I'm very, very excited. I can't wait to try the kanafa that I've contributed towards cooking and tell you guys all about it. That's the most difficult thing I've done in my life.
Unreal.
Woo! Look at that! I was made for this. I was made for this. I should change my middle name to Habiba. So, time to enjoy the fruits of my labor. We just spent the last few minutes helping to prepare this incredible dessert, and now we are about to destroy some. So I mentioned what kanafa actually is and what it means to this region. It is super, super popular across the Middle East, but it's also spread far into sort of Turkey, and there's some variations of it now in the Balkans and in Greece as well. The concept of the kanafa, I guess the modern day kanafa, comes or is believed to originate from Nablus in Palestine. We're very fortunate to have tried kanafa in Ramallah a few years ago, which was absolutely delicious, and it tasted very, very special. Now, kanafa is enjoyed all over the Middle East. Historically, there are some reports that indicate, although the word kanafa wasn't used in some historical texts that trace back to the Fatimid dynasty in the 10th century, there was some reference to a very rich cheese-based dessert, and some say perhaps that was the precursor to the kanafa. But the truth is, you just don't know, as with many things associated with food history. But I'm super, super excited to be here in Jordan, in Amman, about to try perhaps the best kanafa that the country has to offer. Habib Knafeh, the restaurant was founded 70 years ago by a man called Mahmoud Habiba. He's no longer here, but his legacy lives on, and there's so many different branches of this place around the country. You'll find it everywhere. Now look, in front of us we've got two different types of kanafa. We've basically got one where the vermicelli has been left whole in the sort of isolated strips that you'll normally find it in, and it's basically cooked until you get a little crispy, jaggedy kind of texture. And then on the other side, you've got one where it's been pounded and pummeled, and it's a bit more soft, a bit more similar to Middle Eastern basbousa, which you've probably tried. It's almost like a cake. The soft one is called na'ma. Na'ma basically means smooth, and this option is called khishna, and khishna basically means rough. So you got khishna rough, and you got na'ma smooth. So we're gonna try the khishna first. So get a big spoon of this incredible dessert. Here goes. Oh my god, my head is blown. My head is blown. That is just fundamentally incredible. It seems weird initially when you think a cheese is going to be used in a dessert dish, but then you taste the cheese and the stringiness of the cheese, the richness of the cheese, and the sweetness surrounding the dish makes you realize this cheese is meant for dessert. It still retains a little bit of its structural integrity. It doesn't completely melt. There's a bit of a rubbery, halloumi-esque type texture to it, but then it's just lathered in that sweet, sweet syrup. And you got to remember the base to this dish is samna, which is a form of ghee. As soon as you walk into that kitchen, as soon as you get this dish, all you smell, the aromas are that wonderful, warm ghee smell, that smell of comfort. It's absolutely incredible. Up next, we're gonna go for the na'ma, the smooth variation of this wonderful dish. Wow. Let's go. Smooth time. Oh. I don't know if I want to say that's my favorite dessert in the world. Am I ready to say that? Maybe. It's that good. That obviously, not as much crunch or that jaggedy texture. It's a bit more smooth, but it still has a little bit of a crunch to it because of the pistachios on top. But again, the cheese is front and center of this dish. The cheese means everything. I'm actually casting my mind back to when I had Knafeh in Ramallah in Palestine. I feel like that might have even been the first time I've tried a proper Knafeh, and I was just getting sensations that I can't even describe in my mind. Everything was just incredible. I felt like I was somewhere else as I took a bite. I'm getting that same feeling with every bite here in Habiba Knafeh. This is super, super special. This is the dessert that you need to try when you're in the Middle East, but specifically when you're in Jordan. Come to Habiba Knafeh. These two dishes are incredible. You've got different variations. They've obviously got an array of other desserts as well that you can try if you aren't too fond of cheese in your dessert, but they'll give you everything you need and you will leave very, very happy.
I'm gonna ask you a question. Which one's your favorite?
Oh, you're gonna do that to me? You're gonna make me choose?
I'll put you on the spot, mate. I'll put you on the spot.
I'm gonna be very honest. I think this one is my favorite. The khishne. That's my favorite. The jagged one is favorite because I love the crunch. I love the crunchy texture. Look, just listen to that. Listen. Listen. You hear that? That's the crunchiness of the vermicelli. I'm very sorry. I know I don't like picking favorites, but for me, it's this baby.
And that concludes our first episode of Quizine in Jordan. Next time, we continue exploring the epic food scene Amman has to offer and dine at the legendary Hashem restaurant. We also take one of our friends for a very special seafood meal. See you next time.